Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ReCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Hey, Delora, we are back after a brief hiatus. How you feeling? How you living?
Hello, Ashley. I'm excited to be back from our break, but I was also glad to have our break. Got a chance to hang out with my family, and a lot of fun stuff happened. I bought some new pots and pans.
Adulting.
Absolutely. How about you?
So I'm obviously the catalyst for this break this time, guys. Not obvious to you, but obvious to me and Delora. I had to take a little trip to the DMV area for Podcast Movement 2024, which was fantastic. First time attendee. I also worked the event. Shout out to one of the co-founders, Jared, for, everything. And it was great. It was an opportunity to see kind of a bigger scale podcasting event, and all the inner workings of that. We got a chance to have some really great speakers, have some really great vendors. We are a Podbean user ourselves. Podbean had a booth. We use Headliner to create audiograms. Headliner had a booth. There was just a lot that went into it, and it was held at a beautiful hotel, and the experience was amazing. Great networking, great opportunity to meet some new folks. And, it's always just inspirational when you're already invested and passionate about something to be in the environment and share that love with others. So
absolutely. Thank you so
awesome.
much for representing us at the conference.
Of course.
By some of the increase I've noticed on social media, we got some new followers that I'm assuming people you've met while you were there. So super exciting.
Absolutely. So if you guys have never looked into it, take a look at Podcast Movement. I believe 2025 will actually be in Dallas, Texas. All right. So my overall experience in the DMV was awesome as well, because I've been wanting to go to the African American History Museum, Smithsonian.
The Blacksmith.
And it was everything I had expected it to be and more. Delora and I were talking about it. Delora has been as well. And the layout in and of itself is beautiful, because you literally go up through the years and through history. So if you start at the bottom, you're starting at the transatlantic slave trade, and you're learning about that history. And then you go on up through the ages, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s to the now, right? It really kind of ends with, Obama and Oprah and all those sorts of folks who we know and love and have gotten a chance to live in that history. There's even an Oprah Winfrey Theater. The one thing I did not do, I had considered doing it. Had I not had the same cuisine that day before, I would have.
You didn't have their food.
I did not eat at the cafe. Did you eat at the cafe?
Girl. Okay, first of all, it is one of the most phenomenal experiences going through the Blacksmith. Like I was telling Ashley, it was just done so well, with such care and reverence to our ancestors, to our story here in America to present. And it is such an emotional experience, and it was gorgeous and beautiful. So when I had the opportunity to go, I went with the Urban League. It was an evening event, so that it was close to the Urban League's guests, and we had the Black Caucus with us, and they served us the food. It was so good. The mac and cheese, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, right? But I mean, you can't mess up mac and cheese at the Black Smithsonian, right?
Yeah, because guys, the menu is essentially, a nod to soul food, right? You have fried chicken, you have fried fish, you have mac and cheese, you have collard
Greens.
greens. So it's
Yep.
really a tribute to soul food and the culture as well, which just caps off like your experience if you're there and you go, because you most of the time are going to at least spend maybe 3 to 4 hours in there. And that's not
You
even going to
need
cover
all
everything.
that time.
Yeah, that's
And
not
it
even going to
is
cover everything at
well
all.
worth it. For
Hmm.
sure. What else did you think about the city? Because I told you this is DC is one of my favorite American cities. It is, and maybe it's the history nerd in me, but just all the monuments. I think it's gorgeous. The food is good. How was it for you?
I think I'd have to go back and actually stay in DC proper because I really only spent a few hours in DC proper. I stayed in Maryland. I went to DC for the African American History Museum and then walked over to the White House and that whole thing. But I didn't like stay there and like explore and do all these things because I was there for multiple reasons. I was there for the podcast event. I was there for the African American History Museum, and I was also there to see family, which shout out to my family. It was such a
Mhm.
pleasure. I got a chance to see one of my aunts and my cousins who I have not seen since I was a child. And it was so nice to be able to connect and spend that time with them. And overall totality of the experience was great between DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They took me on my last day to an area called Crystal City, which is right by the Pentagon. It's like Crystal City, Pentagon City are right next to each other. And it was like we got to eat at this like really nice outdoor food type of area that had like a water bar. It was dope. So shout out to
Nice.
the DMV in general. Cause y'all
Yeah.
city lines, I was like, I don't even know where I am. Am I in Maryland?
No,
Am I in DC or
no.
am I in Virginia?
Shout out to
Like,
my cousin Chrissy. She lives in Virginia, and I would take the metro into DC. And the metro is also a great place to just see everything, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's you can definitely get turned around, and I have no desire to drive those highways, let me tell you.
hmm, yeah. Well, for my first time, it did not disappoint. We'll see. I'm not in a place where I love a lot of traffic anymore and the busyness. So it was like, could I live here? Probably not, but it was cool to visit, cool to get that
Mm-hmm.
experience and
It's
visit.
expensive there too.
It's very expensive. Apparently, some of them apartments back 10 years ago were like 3 grand. I was like, this is out of my budget. So all right, let's get into some headlines and hot tops today. Kids. First up, Ashanti and Nelly. It feels like Ashanti was pregnant for 50, 11 years. Let me tell y'all what. She done dropped this baby, and this baby is black. Okay. They named the baby Kareem Kincaid Haynes, arrived back in July. So also what I love is that Ashanti and Nelly are like, we're living. We don't care when y'all find out we got married. We don't care when
Mhm.
y'all find out we had a baby. If you ever
Mm,
find out, they are living their best lives and I love it for them. What are your thoughts on the
absolutely.
name and on the new addition to their expanding family?
That is a strong African American name for sure. What I will say though is it doesn't beat what Kev on stage posted the other day talking about Dakotas Juan. Did you see that young man? So the Twitter post was like, what's the blackest or whitest name you've ever heard? And
Oh,
he
I
was
didn't
like,
look at the comments.
for him, it was Dakota's Juan. I don't remember that young man's last name, but he plays football. He's in college football, so shout
His
out to him.
parents are wild.
Hopefully he makes it to the big leagues and be Dakota's there. But overall, they are grown, they're in love, they're doing their own thing. I'm excited for them. I did see Ashanti posting her 4 week postpartum looking like a normal 4 week postpartum woman. Unlike everybody else who try to do the snapback. I'm like, who is this for? And how? What is this? What is this witchery? Like, I need to know because
Yeah.
you know it's not a healthy president, I should say. But I'm happy for them. Shout out to Nelly, he was in the news actually for not the best reasons. I forgot what drug. I think it was ecstasy. I'm like, aren't you too old to be taking ecstasy or something like that? A couple of weeks ago.
Yes, I remember. But no, I don't think he's too old to take ecstasy.
But what I'm trying to say is them making this announcement also works out in his favor to help us forget, that hot mess.
He was having one last partay.
Hurrah.
Like, you know how they have a baby moon? That was his baby moon, Delora. Do a little
living
X.
it up like it's 2004.
Yep. With his Air Force Ones.
Air Force Ones. You know what? They're probably going to play that. Girl, why am I going to my high school reunion?
That's awesome.
I mean, yes, and I'm not even going to tell y'all how many years it is. And the reason why I say this, Ashley, is because I was talking to my coworker the other day, and I realized he's 10 years younger than me. And when I told him how old I was, he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, wait, yeah. Oh, that's my age. Now, everyone listens to the podcast knows that after I turned 35, it's nobody's business how old I am now. Like, you know what I mean? It is up to me and my doctors, okay? I was like, oh, I said that number out loud. It kind of hit me, Ashley.
Yeah, what's funny is I've always been like, I don't mind aging as long as I have my health and my mental and physical health. I'll be fine. And as long as I don't look the age that I'm turning, I want to keep the skin tight and all these things.
Yeah.
But I get tested because for work, we have like a sheet that's like, like emergency contact sheet or whatever. And so some of the information on there was your typical, what's your address, what's your phone number. One of them said birth date. Why all my other coworkers put their actual like birth date full?
Like 2000.
Baby, you know what I gave you? Month and day? What you need the year for?
But he was shocked. And I was like, thank you. Like, I'm glad I don't look my age. And again, I am on the same page. Getting old is a blessing. Okay.
Yes.
I prefer it,
Yes.
It's just it's just that life does come at you fast, too. And I remember always hearing that as a child and not fully understanding what that meant. And
20 minutes used to feel like a lifetime. I remember when I was a kid, taking a ride out to the Dayton Mall used to feel like an all-day adventure. Now when I go out to the Dayton Mall, it's like, how long do I have? What do I need to get? What else can I cram into this so I don't have to come back outside? You know what I mean? Like there's just so many other, you're monitoring time so much differently when you're an adult. And then put kids on top of that. And, that the passage of time gets the most real when you realize how old the kids have gotten.
Yeah.
And you like, wait. I was cognizant of everything when you were still in the womb.
That part.
How are you now going to strip clubs?
With this high school reunion, the people who I know had kids early and their kids now are like in high school themselves. I'm like, did I wait too long?
I ain't got no kids, so
just gotten this over
with. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have been a terrible parent if I had done it young.
Oh, I would not. I mean, I purposely didn't have kids in my 20s because I knew my 20s would go by like that.
I shouldn't say terrible. What I mean is life, you got to get a little humbled by life, I think.
Yes.
You got to get a little humbled.
Exactly.
And have some experiences.
And I wanted resources, like good ones.
That too. All right. So congratulations again to friend of the pod, Ashanti.
43 years old, having her baby.
She said, I've been waiting a long time for this, and I'm going to live my best life with my man. So there you go. All right, let's move on to another man who ain't trying to get married, apparently no time soon. Mr. Cam Newton. This clip has made its rounds. There's a clip of Nick Cannon too, but I just don't even want to touch the Nick Cannon one because we already know. Like Nick Cannon ain't changing his ways.
And I feel like Nick Cannon has a level of self-awareness that Cam does not.
Well, because he's a comedian, right? So like he can laugh, he can be the butt of a joke and be fine with it. Like I think Cam
Mm,
takes himself very seriously.
girl, doesn't he? I was
Yeah,
like, sir, what are we
yeah.
doing here?
I
Okay, go
think
ahead.
Cam takes himself very seriously.
Yes.
So Cam was on his podcast with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, and they discussed the fact that Cam has 8 children with 3 different women and wants more children, wants God to just keep them coming. But he is afraid of divorce, therefore, does not want to get married anytime. So he said he feels like he's taking his time. Her sentiment was basically like, you're not taking your time. You're making very deliberate decisions to create broken homes.
Ooh, child.
And she called him selfish. She said it's a selfish act on your part. I'm not saying you wake up every day, you like, I'm about to go have a baby and not be there for that child, but you can never give your love and attention the way that that child is going to need because you're so divided. And we've had this conversation many times about Nick. I mean, there's
Yes.
no way, like Father's Day, even the Mother's Day, the running jokes about the way this man must be doing marathons to
Yep.
even attempt to see all his children, right? And so, he Cam had his words, but I think at the same time he absorbed some of what she said too. But I didn't watch the full episode. Again, I've just only seen the clips. What did you take from this interaction and this conversation between the two of them?
I only saw the clips as well, but let me say that Dr. Bryant is doing the Lord's work. Okay. Because the way she told this man to his face about himself should be applauded. Okay. I thought what she said was concise, digestible. In terms of, to your point, I feel like it really hit him of like that saying, there's no time like the present is so real. There's no one day. It's today or not. Like, you know what I mean? And so what message are you sending? And I'm adding my 2 cents to it, is like to the women in your life and to the kids of your life that you're going to get this quote unquote wife, whoever she is, whatever quality she may have. And then what? You go and live with her and have kids with her. What about everybody else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Future was under that conversation, had that conversation too when he was with before Sierra. He was just all like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be with my wife. And they were like, but you got like 4 baby mamas. Like
Yeah. I try not to be quick to judge people's decisions in terms of what works best for them, right? Like if you don't want to get married, if that's not for you, I totally understand. If you don't want to have kids, John Cena, that came up again
yeah,
with John Cena on Club Shay Shay. If you don't want to have kids, I totally understand. That's up to you. I think when it starts getting into the Nick Cannons and like the mentalities of, I don't want to be with this woman or commit to this woman for real, but I want to have 50, 11 children. My thought is always about the children more than the
yep,
adults who are making this consensual,
yep,
hopefully always consensual decision. Is just what are the ramifications going to be for these kids? And I hope I don't have more consideration for them than you do, right? Because
yeah,
they're going to look to you someday over the therapist chair. That's going to be your burden, not mine, as to what the deficits have been, what the traumas have been, what has happened because of the situations that they found themselves in, right? And again, that's going to be up to them. I don't A lot of people seem to share these thought processes and these mentalities. And so I guess, because sometimes I'd be like, why do people even care? Like Cam Newton, just because he could play football, why should I care about like the other behaviors that he may choose to engage in? That's none of my business. But it does seem like it strikes a nerve, at least on the internet, with
well, his
people and
podcast has been
relatability.
getting a lot of play lately because he had a really fascinating conversation with Kurt Franklin, where Kurt Franklin was talking about how marriages
Yep.
weaponized in the church. All very valid points. I'm not gonna lie. I was
Yeah.
like, look at Kurt, because
That's
I
why
don't
Kirk has always been my
recall
fave.
exactly. People give him a hard time because he's been open about struggles with in his personal life and
Yep.
his relationships, but I appreciate the transparency of it.
Because everybody's human. Anybody who acts like
Yes,
that they're so anointed or so in touch with their higher self that they don't make mistakes or don't have frailty like we all do is lying. That's what
truly.
we relate to. He's a human being, just like all the
Yep,
rest of us, just like any other person who's in the church.
exactly. If you want to get biblical, God said that he will not take away the gifts that he blessed us with. It's just how we use them, right? So at least he's still using his gifts for the Lord.
Lately,
When it
I've
comes
been going through some things that's really got me down. Put your hands together. Uh, put your
that
hands
Hero
together.
album was the soundtrack of my college years, by the way. Can I say that Dr. Bryant is doing what Ayana Saved My Life was doing, but just in a
Mm.
more less hilarious way. Let me just say it that way, because the way Ayama's antics with the baby dolls in the arms still to this day is quite hilarious.
I was never a regular watcher of her show. The interview I remember the most was with Karuchi, actually.
Yes.
That's the one I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. And now Karuchi feels like a totally different human being.
She does. And I think she's living her best life, and I'm happy for her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I'm sure can't nothing is gonna keep Cam from doing Cam, but I just thought it was interesting that we got a chance to have that conversation that kind of lives on the internet now. And I don't want to say have some level of accountability for the mindset, but yeah, have some level of accountability for the
Yeah.
mindset of like a lot of
Because
people
it
just
doesn't
take
make
this
no
and
damn
run with
sense.
it. But I'm just saying, like, they'll take it and run with it. Like, it's
Yeah.
really, as far as a therapist's perspective, something to examine. You know what I mean?
Truly. Yeah.
Because I think we're at such a place, again, I try not to be quick to judge, but I think we're at such a place where we will allow for anything. Like, everything is on the table now. There can be harm and trauma that comes from these decisions, and we just should acknowledge that. That's all.
You know what, Ashley? At the end of
The day
the
has
day
to end.
going in.
Yep. Yep. God bless you. All right, let's move on to Mariah Carey. Thoughts and prayers with Mariah as she has lost both her mother and her sister on the same day. She said, "My heart is broken that I've lost my mother this past weekend. Sadly, in a tragic turn of events, my sister lost her life on the same day. I feel blessed that I was able to spend the last week with my mom before she passed. I appreciate everyone's love and support and respect for my privacy during this impossible time." A cause of death was not shared for either of them, but people are bringing up the fact that she's obviously spoken about family difficulties in the past, particularly in her
Yes.
2020 memoir. And I know a lot of people want to jump on, I don't want to say a lot of people, some people in the comments, let me stop saying a lot. Some people in the comments I've seen have, tried to kind of throw that back at like, oh, she's not really upset. She wasn't even close with them, X, Y, and Z. We can't speak on people's
Grief.
relationships with
Oh
their
my gosh.
family
What?
members who have passed away. Like, that was still her mother, that was still her sister, even if she went through a period of time where they were not speaking, even if there was difficulty, all those things. So definitely condolences, and my heart goes out to her for this loss.
Absolutely. Like when I saw the news, I thought this was devastating. I unfortunately have experienced loss, specifically on my dad's side of the family, where in two instances, months apart, family members, right? But I can't imagine same day. So I know it had to have been difficult for her to make that message, but she's such a high profile person. I'm sure she wanted to control the narrative, and sending prayers to her family because it's devastating. And yes, you can still mourn a person that you're not close to. That is her sister. That doesn't negate the memories that she may have when they were younger. They obviously didn't have a relationship as adults, but that doesn't, when it comes to grieving, you think of all of that.
Oh,
You think of
absolutely.
the past, the present, and then missed opportunities in the future. So it's devastating. People need to shut up and leave her alone.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to a very demure and a very mindful topic.
Not doing too much, just a little tinted moisturizer.
So I am not on TikTok and did not see the original explosion of this. I caught the Instagram side of this when they were posting the OG originator of the very demure, very mindful craze, and that is Jules. I don't know if it's LeBron because it looks like LeBron.
It definitely looks like LeBron, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So I saw the original video and then it just obviously started being everywhere. I saw what's his name who played Dan Humphreys on Gossip Girl and who also is from the one series I love. And I don't know why I'm
You.
blanking on his name. Yes. Penn
His name,
Badgley.
I was going to say Penn.
Yes, Penn Badgley. I saw his video. I've seen other videos. Even Netflix has a very demure, very mindful category that
Yes.
apparently Jules
Very
actually,
cutesy.
yeah, Jules actually was the one who selected her favorite movies and TV shows for that category, which I was not aware of.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in a turn of events, she had posted a video. Actually, let me not accidentally mislabel. Not sure. She, they, whatever the
Jules. And you
yes,
can
what
just
however
what's her name?
Jules
It's Jules,
chooses,
right?
yes, chooses to be identified. Jules posted a video crying, saying that somebody else had trademarked very demure, very mindful. And it seemed like that maybe that Jules was not going to be the cash in on this popularity. But I saw today that Jules has posted a subsequent video saying that it has been handled. Jules has a team now, and that's kind of where it stands. But this article I'm looking at from NPR, basically for us, for anybody else, just for your knowledge, to know that a trademark application is not actually a guarantee that you will receive that trademark. So even when someone submits
Correct.
an application, it isn't automatic that they own it or they're the ones who have the rights to it. It's just they have applied to register. And so obviously Jules could still make a great case, and I'm sure is making a great case with a legal team as to why Jules is the originator of very demure, very mindful.
Yeah, so I saw several copyright lawyers online say, you can definitely submit. The gentleman who did submit, he's been known to try to be the first, but it's been denied in the past. And people who have evidence of first use gets priority over someone who's trying to, go in and, be sneaky and try to take the rug from up under you, so to speak.
A
So,
trademark troll, as they called Jefferson Bates, who filed that application.
I mean, that is what that is.
Yes. Not only did Jules get that Netflix very demure, very mindful category, also worked with Verizon to promote their trade-in policy.
Oh,
A cracked
that's
screen and hot pink
fast.
phone are not her idea of demure, FYI, is what they posted in the NPR article. So,
That was quick.
yes, yes, they got to hop on these things these days. These trends, they come and go. So they're like, we got to cash in while we can.
Girl, there are things that happened literally last month that feels like 5 years ago.
Yep.
So,
Popular culture is moving quicker than ever, isn't it?
truly, yep.
So I just wanted to cover that very demure, very mindful topic. We can move on to our hot tops of the day. These are two that have transpired since we've been away, but we have to discuss. First one up, J-Lo and Ben. Bennifer 2.0
2.0.
has officially come to an end.
Crazy.
On the second anniversary of their wedding celebration in Savannah, Georgia, Jennifer Lopez filed for
Was that
divorce.
a freaking plantation?
I thought we had talked about that.
Did we talk about that? But
I thought so. Because we had then talked about Blake and Ryan's misstep in that same way.
Yep.
So are we saying it was doomed? The spirit said, guess what?
Don't play about my ancestors, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were bigger than me and a cheerleader and excited about this rekindled relationship. When this, even the down spiral, I was sad, let alone now officially filing. I'm sad. How do you feel?
You know what's so funny? You have more emotions on the downturn than I do. Because here's the deal. I was super excited because when we were growing up, paparazzi pop culture was at a fever pitch, I feel like. You know what I mean? And the reason why I say that is because now we live in the social media era and our attentions are everywhere. There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Twitter. I mean, it's a lot different when all you had was MTV, BET, and VH1. You know what I mean? And then the magazines, print was still big, right? So you had People and Us magazines, and these people were force fed down our throats. And their relationship was such a big deal. Again, to give context, J Lo had a big ass. Oh my gosh, people didn't know how to handle that, because at that point we were coming off of the '90s where the supermodels were very thin. Thinking of Kate Moss. Well, Kate
And you
Moss
also
is
had
honestly,
natural beauty standards for celebrities more than you do now. There was not the BBL, there was not the contour and all these things to
but
change your
even
face
then,
shape.
J Lo was the first person in Hollywood that people at like had an ass, and
At least
then
non-black.
came non-black, but then came Beyonce and then just fast forwarding Kim K. So we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So when they first broke up, it was devastating, and so for them to have both gotten married multiple times since, or for her multiple times, for him to another Jennifer, them having kids and coming together in their late 40s, 50s, saying, let's give love a chance, a second chance. I was like, oh my God, yes. But I knew they were breaking up because the rumors, the way they were dropping these breadcrumbs, I was like, when are y'all gonna just break up at this rate? You know what I mean? If anything, I did feel embarrassed for JLo for two reasons. One, that $25 million fever dream project, This Is Me Now, apparently has soared in ratings since the announcement of the divorce, by the way.
We are so messy.
Isn't that messy?
They like let me watch the train when it was on the tracks just to remember how ugly it is that now it's off.
Crazy. And then why doesn't she get prenups? You would think, having done this, I think what, 5 times now? She had the first one, then Chris, then Mark.
Feels
So
like
this was four.
four.
This is four. She was engaged though to A-Rod.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking. And Ben again. It's giving Elizabeth Taylor too, by the way.
And I mean, it's up in the air if this is her Richard Burton. But I think that I'm not embarrassed for her, but I think what was hurting me when everything seemed like it was starting to spiral was like Jennifer Lopez is still a human being. And
yeah.
to think that you thought that you had gotten back together with the love of your life, is she okay? Like, what is she going to do now in her love life? Like, this has to be just devastating. And then when she kept saying the thing about he would in his message, his emails, and put engraved in the ring, not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But you still, this shit still don't work.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. But it's how she literally put her heart out in that project, talking about she didn't know how to be single. She didn't know how to be alone. She was always looking for a love. She's a hopeless romantic. And it's like,
my feelings are hurt.
And then she even highlighted her friend saying you should be by yourself for a while before hopping into another relationship. Now, this PR situation is very interesting. The last most salacious headline that I saw was that both Jennifer's team said that Ben has a darkness to him that, when he gets into it, he's unpleasant to be around and you can't like heal him type of deal, right? But Gwen said that back in the 90s when she was engaged to him. So apparently, he has the bad behavior. I mean, I think before that came out, it was saying like he was being driven to want to drink because he has vices. He's been known to have
He doesn't just have
alcohol
vices.
issues
He's an
and
alcoholic.
gambling. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, his PR people are trying to drag J Lo in the mud, talking about being driven to drink. Like, sir,
At the end
what
of the
about your
day,
your behavior?
at the end of the day, like none of like it feels like the same thing with like it ends with us drama. Like none of that changes how I personally feel about the situation because I can see beyond the headlines of y'all this little back and forth at the moment. But I will say, if this genuinely just comes down to incompatibility, let it just come down to incompatibility. Like
So
if this
true.
comes down to the fact that Jennifer is a person who seeks and loves fame and attention and popularity, and Ben is someone who wants to sit in his house with his
Unbothered.
Jack in the Box and mind his business, that is literally just incompatibility. And at certain points, when you start reaching certain ages, there is no more compromise. I am who I am.
That is true.
You
Yes.
are who you are.
Yep.
And let that be it. Now, maybe what's going to be best for them is to just date for the rest of their lives. Don't live together. Don't get married. Just take vacations together, have sex, enjoy each other's company, and live y'all best lives.
That, or they should have just taken the Gwyneth Paltrow approach and they probably should have just lived in two different houses. Meet in the middle every once in a while.
But I just don't even get married. Don't even put a ring on it. Let's not even play that game because that ain't working. That ain't working. I know a couple who got married, wasn't even married long. That shit did not work. They've been dating now for decades and it works for them.
Not with each other, with other people.
No, with each other.
Whoa. Wait.
With each other.
So they married.
Divorced. The marriage, correct. And now have since dated for years. It works.
It's probably fun.
If you work it.
It's giving cosplay a little bit, but okay.
It's not. It's not. What it's giving is I like you, you like me, but we don't need to live in the same house. We don't need to have a union under the state of law. Like they can still do that. It doesn't mean they have to lock it down legally to do that. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I guess so.
Live your best life. So maybe that's the recipe they need to abide by. We'll see. Do you think this is the end, or do you think they gonna circle the block one more time at some point?
I don't care. These people are over 50 years old. Like,
oh, okay. Now you just don't care.
They look amazing. They look amazing, right? They are now the standards, like maintaining sexy, Honestly, sometimes I wonder that's why celebrity and high profile people stay beautiful, just so they can maintain having options. Not to say everybody let themselves go in relationships, but life be happening. But it's like, I can get what's that song? I can get me somebody else.
Irreplaceable, Beyonce. I can have another you in a minute. Matter of fact, he'll be here in a minute. Oh,
I know what you're saying, but no, that wasn't the song I was singing. But anyway.
All right. Well, they've run their course with you. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I root for the love. I want the love to work.
But Ashley, like, how many paps are really tracking J-Lo down these days? Like, I don't understand how. I mean, she still is J-Lo. I'm not knocking her position, but it's just like paps aren't papping like they used to. I just don't know what the problem is, if it's the quote unquote. I think she likes too much attention.
I think it's beyond just paps now, though. Everybody is a pap.
Oh,
right?
that's true. Yeah.
Everybody now is a pap. They got their phone, they got their camera. You're always on display. Like I would hate to be a celebrity right now. It has to be unbearable. So,
Yeah, you got to be mindful because people be sneaking, taking videos and everything all the time.
girl, the one dude from Riverdale, Cole Sprouse, he has
Yeah,
a whole Instagram dedicated to taking pictures of people who take pictures of him. Like this whole troll account of catching people thinking they slick. And he was like capturing them as well. So
crazy.
yeah, hilarious. All right, let's move on to our final hot topic, which was the Democratic National Convention that went down last week in my favorite US city, Chi-Town, Chicago.
Mhm.
So we had what, 4 days
Yep,
full of politicians and celebrities. You even had Olivia and Fitz come at you
that
twice.
warmed my soul. They're never beating these allegations, by the way. Like happily married, Carrie's husband is gorgeous,
Yes, he is.
and I call him Fitz. What is this man's name?
Fitz.
In real life,
I know. Fitz, just call him Fitz. He always be Fitz now.
he always is. She can call him up and he'll drop everything. He literally said,
It's Tony
because he,
Goldwyn, though.
Tony, thank you. He literally did an interview, was like, I was having dinner with my daughter. I get a call from Carrie saying, do you want to do this thing with me, at the convention? He's like, yeah, I'll be right there. People online were like, he literally dropped dinner with his daughter to do something Carrie Washington asked him to do. That tickles me so much.
Brought to you by the Democratic Convention, brought to you by Shonda Rhimes, is essentially what that was.
That also proves how powerful that show was. Like, what a time to be alive. Like, shout out to my coworkers. I love the ones I'm getting to know. They're all younger than me. But one in particular, she was like, oh, I just started watching Scandal from the beginning. And I'm like, oh,
Have
you
fun.
weren't around when it was fresh and new and you had to be there TGIT every week.
It was also the start of like what, live tweeting and all that stuff that
Yes.
went on during the show and
Yeah.
gave the audience like that just extra feel of ownership with the characters. Yeah, it was definitely a moment. But I caught stuff after the fact. I had to YouTube. You were watching stuff
Yeah.
and texting me live.
Live.
So, the Obamas, Kamala herself, all the celeb
Tim.
cameos,
Yeah.
Oprah, Tim
Yep.
and his son situation that people
Yep.
seem to want to fixate on. Give me your like highlights of the DNC.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I watched it live. I watched it via YouTube because I don't have cable anymore. I think that's pretty on par with our generation at this rate.
Cord cutters.
Yep. Ashley, when I tell you I have not been this thoroughly entertained at a Democratic National Convention, I don't think ever. But I also remember this buzz back in 2008, right? That's when President Obama became the first African American to win the Democratic nomination for president. And so, but even then, it wasn't this fun. Like, this convention was fun. I think my favorite tweet throughout the whole week of the convention was the DNC is Coachella for poli-sci majors. And I was like, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is. Like, for me, and I have always been very politically minded, very involved in like things going on in the world. But after the reign of 45, I took a major break once Joe got the keys to the White House. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
because you
so,
could relax.
girl, and exhale.
Did I ever
When,
tell you
when
I cried? I cried.
Ashley, the level of relief once he won, I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, it, literally waiting to exhale, like that exhale. I felt it down in my bones.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Down in my bones. And so I say that to say that roll call was everything. I'm sitting up, I know what it's like when each state is called, but I didn't remember having a DJ there playing songs. Like if there was a famous musician that came from that particular state, them playing songs to correlate with it. And then when Georgia comes up, I was like, is that Little John? What? And it was so hype. And shout out to Michigan. You had Big Gretch out there. They were playing Eminem, which is he's problematic, but freaking California going last because obviously that was her state, and they were playing Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. I was like, this is insane. And I loved every minute of it. So the first night you had the Clinton speak. They did their thing. But Tuesday, Michelle Obama spoke.
Looking fantastic.
First of all, let's talk about the braids going
Mm-hmm.
down the back. Okay. Like what I love about this Michelle in this era, right, is she's done her duty. This is like the most her I think we've ever gotten from her, right? Because while they were in the White House, she was wearing J. Crew because she couldn't wear anything too expensive. They were already having the problems with her wearing clothes that shows her toned arms. You know what I mean?
God forbid.
Honestly, it wasn't until the Essence magazine of their departure of the White House that I realized that she had a butt because they did such a great job dressing her. But I was like, oh, Michelle is thick. Oh, I didn't know. No, but I just say that because there's a level of freedom that she has. And so this is no longer the Michelle of when they go low, we go high. She was like, F that ish. Let me tell you about yourself. And it was bar after bar after bar. Ashley, her speech was a combination of awe because one, she is such a profound speaker. Everybody talks about President Obama, rightfully so, but she is such an engaging speaker that I was laughing when she was talking about who's gonna tell him he's trying to get one of those black jobs. I was like, yo, it was heartfelt. She talked about recently losing her mom
Yeah.
and not wanting to really be there, but the fact that she still decided to show up and give this little speech for her. No, this is like, but I'm that's a joke because obviously the speech was not some little speech. She was able to speak to Kamala Harris, um, and when she said that again, former president is unable to comprehend that highly educated people who so happen to be black can be successful. I was screaming. I was standing up in my living room by myself. My poor puppy is looking at me like, what is wrong? And I'm like, I am getting my entire life right now. Like she was able to speak to the plight of being a black educated woman in this country and how people perceive you and how much that you actually have to work and prove your work. You can't fail forward, like she said. You have to, my new definition of DEI, because the right constantly wants to use that as an insult. My favorite definition of it now is I definitely earned it because we are taught that you have to work twice as good just to get just as far, right? As our counterparts. And so, in addition to her speech being hilarious and emotional, and again, connecting to it as a Black woman, it was motivating. She told us to do something, and I was on my couch like, yes, do something about it. What you gonna do? And then I was telling David, I was like, her speech was I was full after her speech. First of all, I was fed, like, you know what I mean. Mother was mothering to put in to fun terms. But I was like, why are the Obamas back to back? Like, y'all need to spread some of this goodness out, because I was like, I'm barely digesting Michelle's speech, and Barack Obama goes on that stage and makes a dick joke, and I lost it. I lost it. I was like, I can't handle this. He was like, he's obsessed with crowd sizes and did the thing with his hands. I was like, I'm done. I am done. I can't do this anymore.
You know
But I
why they
love this.
went back to back? Because now that he's no longer in office, they living their best lives.
Truly, they
They
are.
they went back to the hotel. They had a good time.
They did. Like, can you imagine being dapped up like, okay, your turn? Let it leash. Let it
Girl,
go.
everybody's still wondering what he whispered in her ear. I don't feel like it's none of my business.
I have no desire to know what they talk about. I'm just happy
Cause
that they're happy.
I know it probably wasn't clean. That's all I know. Because if I was married to Michelle or if I was married to Barack, it's going down, baby.
It's
It's
going
too much. It's too
down.
much black excellence. It's too much beauty. It's too much power.
Actually, I'm like, talk about political power couple. And
It's too much.
they are lucky Michelle is not a politician. She would embarrass people. Like, she's so good, and she was first lady. I don't know a more dynamic first lady outside of obviously Hillary Rodham, right? But that was also genuinely well liked, because people hated Hillary. As long as I've been alive, the vitriol Hillary has had has been it needs to be studied, because sometimes I'm like, why do they just not like her? I don't get it after a while.
I mean, now as an adult, looking back at some of the history, some of the policies, some of the things that happened, they definitely didn't keep their noses clean. So I get some of
Yeah,
the things as a
yeah.
person, like just like some of the little petty stuff people don't like about her. I don't care. Uh,
And
it's more
yeah,
about the ways that she had their decisions and things they did that negatively impacted us.
yeah. But they also, I mean, Clinton's administration had us in the black economy wise. And so there
The
were a lot
90s
of
were
good.
an era.
It really was. And so my final thoughts really quick though. One, I love the ovation that President Joe Biden got on his speech. It was well deserved, and he did a phenomenal job. I think it was interesting that they decided to lean into Kamala's personal life in a way that was more nurturing than Hillary DNC several years ago. You know what I mean? Like, that was a notable difference. And I think that's the one thing that Hillary was, I think, advised to it. And to be fair, she again put cracks in the glass ceiling, but it's like, you're just like one of the guys, so to speak, right? You like, don't lean into the femininity of being a mom, being a wife, even though she did one of the things that a lot of women of our parents' generations and beyond have done. Tell us all the time, they stay with their man, like, you know what I mean? So I don't, again, she did the one thing that everybody claims that she should have done. Doug's speech was very endearing. And surprising. And I love the speech from Kamala's great nieces, how to teach everyone how to say her name. And I thought her speech was well done. I appreciated her presenting her path. Let's go. Michelle said we got 11 weeks. We got 10 now. So
Get ready to vote, kids. Get ready to get out there. If you are not registered to vote, please make sure that you check and make sure that you know your status.
you're
Get registered. If you're
registered.
not registered, make sure you know your polling place. If you're signed up for absentee or mail-in ballot, make sure that you double check that that's still the case. I myself know that I had some voter suppression going on when I was still living in Florida with my ballot. So check all the things because we all need to be getting out and exercising our right to vote. So
Absolutely.
that's it. That's all. Thank you guys for coming
Oh, you
back.
didn't You didn't say how you felt about the
Well,
speeches.
because again, I caught it on the fly, so I got a chance to see it, but it didn't ring as true as if it were live. I mean, I still thought everybody did a great job. It was still very well done. I enjoyed all the speeches as well as all the content I got on Instagram and social media thereafter. So that's my hot take, and I'm glad that nothing harmed the Harris Walls campaign, because that was one thing people
Same.
thought was, oh, this, people may be trying to find a way to tear her down after this. That did not seem to be the case. So
Yep.
that's it. As I was saying, I'm thank you guys so much for coming back for yet another week with us. We appreciate it. We literally are on the cusp of episode 300. So for those of you who've been rocking with us, we appreciate you. For any newcomers, welcome. We hope you
Welcome,
enjoy and
welcome.
stick with us. Please share this episode with everybody you know. We appreciate it. Leave us a rating, a review, a comment. If you're not going out on our YouTube, just know we are there too. We see you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with what, Delora, for Tuesday?
Girl, we are going to recap Ava DuVernay's phenomenal film, Origin, starring the Ingenue Ellis.
All right. Join us for that. In the meantime, as always, guys, be blessed.
Bye.